Hi there everyone, and welcome to this episode of One Take. You'll notice that I have a guest with me, Sean Semler, and so you can put his Twitter handle here. Also, you got to put your Twitter handle up here, David, because folks have to check you out here. So if you could put yours coming out here, and I'm going to have David as a guest as well in the coming episodes. But today it's going to be about Sean, and today is also going to be about some really fun stuff we're talking about. And, you know, I was inspired by Sean on this episode because, Sean, you can introduce yourself first.
Hey, I'm Sean. I'm a 3L Duke Law and interning here for the summer.
So when Sean started, we were chatting about different things about legal tech. It's always great to have someone so excited about it. And he asked me, and it's a question I got a lot, what resources should I look into? How does someone get started in legal tech? And so on this episode, I kind of cheated because I knew I was going to be talking about this one. And yesterday, I tweeted your question, Sean, about kind of how folks should get involved in legal tech. And I'm going to go through it. And so, David, if you can work your magic and kind of put the tweets in as we go through it, that would be really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I tweeted yesterday, legal tech folks, I've been asked how to get into legal technology by lots of lawyers and engineers. I should have put interns and law students as well. Where should folks start? Resources. One of the first folks who replied was Ross's own John Adams, and actually it coincidentally lined up nicely because from a lawyer's perspective, Thomas Hamilton, our first employee, left Big Law and came into legal technology, and he wrote kind of a little bit about his experiences recently on our blog. And so, David, if you can add a link to that at the bottom, that could be a fun kind of intro for folks to start with. Following that, HipCounsel talked about for folks on the East Coast or in the New York area, they're starting a new group in conjunction with LawMade, which is a shout out to Toronto. So there's essentially various groups that folks are joining right now. And I think a really good one, and it really stole the show very early on, and it was a testament to the fact that I even went on to that platform, was Twitter. And so JoshuaLenon from Clio, he wrote about how what he said was Twitter, not even joking. The best resource for learning and connecting in legal tech is right here, as he was tweeting, but move it to in person as soon as possible. So Sean, you've been doing that a little bit.
Right, I definitely agree. I didn't have a Twitter account at all when I started as an intern here and created one and started following some of the people you introduced me to, and I get the bulk of my daily tech news on Twitter now in the morning.
Great. Well, see, it's a testament to it. The next person, and this was more from an engineering perspective, which was really great. Jenny Odegaard, she said that for engineers, they should get a solo lawyer friend and find out about their complaints are with their current legal tech solutions. That's kind of what happened with Ross in a way. I was at a small law firm. Gmo and Pargles were starting up and really kind of seeing what AI and deep learning and neural nets could do in law. And they asked me about some stuff and we got started. So great point by Jenny there. The next one, and I'm going to get your take on this too, Sean, is in terms of, and the famous Bob Ambrosi, of course, we did an episode where he actually asked us a question to check out his Law Sites blog. You've checked that out as well. Is that something that you're reading?
Yeah, it's definitely one of my go-to sources when I'm not on Twitter. You can only pick so many sources to peruse on a daily basis. That's one. Legal tech. If you're looking for more technical sort of stuff, Hacker News is good for that. I don't want to take all the time, but his is definitely one of the top ones.
Bam. Julie Sobowale, who wrote about Ross on the for the ABA, highlighted something, and I've talked about it before in the past on the past episode. And David, I remember you put up the link to it. If you can find it again, she wrote that for resources, she would start with the CBA Futures Report, which is tremendous and fantastic. And then when it comes to books by, and it was only a matter of time before someone mentioned him, Richard Susskind. And I think a great person to end his books, and he just wrote a new one, Jordan Furlong. So if you could even put, David, the links to those books in here, that would be really good.
Yeah.
So then we got so many to go through, so I'll make sure we keep up the pace. But
Yeah.
another one is Kate Galloway, who said, it's a broad question. Twitter obviously highlights resources and trends, but always good to buddy up with someone doing it. That's how you're learning.
It's definitely true. There's a professor at Duke, Jeff Ward. I've kind of buddied up with him as he goes through the process of figuring out what legal tech is most relevant to law students, and that's been a huge help as well.
And Jeff's been one of our LegalTechLives series, so I'm giving you tons of work today. You're probably putting all these hashtags and everything in the other ones. Yeah. So if you could put Jeff's LegalTechLives in here as well at the bottom. Next one was, and this one was from Fredrik Svard. Shout out to Sweden, actually. Swedish legal tech community there. Laid out some resources, which is Artificial Lawyer, great. Richard's doing great stuff there. Law 21, LawMade, Lawyerist, Legal Futures, Legal Hackers, Above the Law, Computational, and Evolve Law. So make sure, David, I guess you could kind of throw those around, but folks should definitely check out that if you're getting into legal tech. Jordan Furlong, who does Law 21, that blog, which is fantastic, another one I told you to check out as well, wrote about some other folks to follow. And so we have Ron Friedmann, also did LegalTechLives. I don't know, David, if I could get you to put all these links today.
Yeah, I got you. No worries, throw them at me.
Okay, then we got Dennis Kennedy, Bob Ambrosi, Catherine Reach, Jim Calloway. I did a podcast with Jim, which was really fun. Eric Mazzoni, Kevin O'Keefe, and Monica Ngoyle. Great resources. I know, Sean, that was on your to-do in terms of folks to follow as well.
Yeah.
We have, next one, Irene Moe, actually one of your compatriots. She's at in law school, and she writes, and it was a great point, legal tech meetups like legal hack groups, or conferences like the ABA Tech Show. Recently, Sean, you checked out Legal Week West in San Francisco. Did you have fun there?
That was awesome. Not just for the free gifts, but it's good to see all the different kinds of legal tech out there. It's easy to be under the impression that maybe it's not as big a field as you would like it to be, and then you go to a conference like this and you see that a lot of people are taking it seriously, so that was good.
Great, yeah, you got to be with your like-minded folks, and I'm really always looking forward to ILTACon, and ILTA is going to be coming up in not very soon, July. So for folks who are going to that, I'm going to be there. I love ILTACon as a potential other one. So if you're trying to get involved, it's a great conference to go to as well. Then we have Diligen, and they give a shout out to Toronto Ryerson Legal Innovation Zone newsletter and events. I totally agree, that newsletter is fantastic. We've also had them on our Legal Tech Live, so David, you got to put that there as well. This one was a really good suggestion, and I actually didn't tell you this one, Sean, which was to search legal tech on AngelList, so that you could then create a list of all the companies doing it. That was a really great suggestion from NextChapter, which their hashtag NextChapterBK, which you could put. I assume you're putting it for all these, David.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a really good one. I didn't say.
Yeah.
And have you done that?
No, but I'm definitely going to after this.
Yeah. And then we have the Lawyerist podcast, which is a great resource. And then there you go. If this was like bingo, there's another reference to Bob Ambrosi. And then you have Lex Text Review. And shout out to Keith Lee, Associates Mind. And not only is he great, and really he does a great job in bridging from law school students into legal tech, he's also just a really funny, great guy who's also been on LegalTechLives. So David, there's another one. And then of course go to ABA Tech Show. You're gonna have to go to ABA Tech Show. You haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
Then we have a great suggestion from Laura at Laura FAQ. And this was great. I mean, we heard it already, but legal hack events are not to be forgotten. We have legal hackers organized meetups all around the globe. If we're not in your city yet, we'll get there. I think that's a great one. Ross is getting more involved with the legal hacker group in San Francisco, and I think that Sean, you have work to continue to do, because you're going to be going back to Duke so you can be involved in multiple legal tech communities.
Definitely. I want to plug another resource. For those who are interested in blockchain, Bitcoin, any of that, and smart contracts, the applications it has there for law students, there's a book by Joe Dewey. It's under 200 pages, and as well as doing a great job of explaining what blockchain is, which can be kind of a tough concept to get, he does a great job of explaining what its applications will be in different fields, which I think is the next step that a lot of people kind of skim over when they're explaining it.
David, he's a guest and he's doing so well, he might have to get his own one-take show as well. Great suggestion. And actually, even from my perspective, I get questions on blockchain and smart contracts, and it's always something I have to learn more about. So that is a great resource. And maybe you can put up a picture of that book, David. I don't want to give you too much editing work here today. Sam Harden, he mentions it just in terms of an engineering standpoint. Seek out other attorneys who appreciate tech. Start a language like Python or Ruby, and find a problem you think needs solving and create a solution. That's kind of fun, but I will add this caveat. I think that's absolutely right, but when it comes to finding a problem you think needs solving, and then going to create the solution, I think the big thing, and Sean's learned this as well, and dealing with Ross customers and kind of being part of our team, is it's not just about finding the problem, it's about really finding how you're going to solve that and getting buy-in from a large group of people. So everyone will identify problems, but you want to find that overarching problem that everyone has.
I'd also add, he says start a language like Python or Ruby. I sort of taught myself Python a bit. I'd never get hired as an engineer anywhere, but it's mostly to become conversant in the language so that when you're talking with an engineer or something, you know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily becoming a master in a language might further your goals, at least from a legal tech perspective.
Yeah, I agree with that perspective too. And Sean, a lot of time, and you might have opened up Pandora's box depending on the comments here. Some folks think you should learn to code. Other folks think you don't have to. I think, like you, it should be something kind of in the middle where you need to be conversant in it. You need to speak the language. You need to know what engineers mean when they say something. But becoming a master in that almost takes away from your time that you could be on actually solving the problems you need to be solving. Great. Ron Friedmann came in with some other resources at Legal Insider, Legal Mosaic. Mark Cohen's fantastic. I really would suggest that as well. Do we be strategic? Of course, Jean O'Grady and her blog, especially from a law librarian standpoint. Geek Law blog. Adam Smith ESQ. That's actually one of David's favorites. And Law 21 again. So we're rounding it up. We have Colin Lachance offered this suggestion. He said, obviously, Twitter is kind of step one. He agreed with Josh. And then he also said to speak to law librarians in the open data community, which is still gold today. And that led to Teresa Martin. I love this tweet, which was that a librarian at a client's office is of the old school knowledge and hip to cutting edge new tech and trends. And I definitely see that trend. I think law librarians are going to be one of the greatest resources you can have to really pushing the tech forward, and so you can't leave them out of any conversations you have, especially around getting involved in legal tech. Some other blogs were mentioned by Chase Hertel, mentioned computational already, but Monica Bay and her work out of Stanford has been mentioned, and we've had a LegalTechLives with Monica Bay. So David, more work for you underneath. And then the ever-present Ed Walters, you haven't had a chance to talk to Ed yet, but you got to. He said, look, you got to go to conferences and meetups, ask good questions and listen, tinker and share. Definitely agree with that. And then I asked kind of the community at large, what other conferences and meetups folks should go to. I could plug Duke a little bit with your Duke Entrepreneurship Lab. That's a great community, and that's a community that a lot of law schools are starting to have kind of these hubs within the law school.
There are definitely good meetup sites wherever you live. I know in San Francisco, I think it's literally called meetups.com. You can search for any kind of legal tech under the sun, and there's a group that meets and has discussions, guest lectures, etc. I've been going to those after work, and those have been some really interesting talks. It's just free, like-minded people on whatever you're interested in.
And Sean has been coming back with a lot of suggestions for different things, so it's always kind of fun. And so yeah, it's a great suggestion that someone didn't tweet at me, but it's coming live. Sarah Glassmeyer, she says, Twitter is obviously the best, especially conference and hashtags, and that the ABA has great blogs and publications, which is totally true. And then she obviously added a disclaimer, she now works for the ABA, but I think that's great. Conference hashtags was the way that I got involved in the scene early on. If you can't be at an event, you can always follow that hashtag and hear what people are saying, and then you get to kind of see who's kind of the leader in different topics, etc.
If you're trying to break, I guess, the seriousness of all these suggestions a bit, one person who is funny to follow on Twitter that you suggested is Bored Elon Musk. I get a huge kick out of that.
So yeah, actually, David, put Bored Elon Musk. That's kind of a fun one too. Not Legaltech, but will make you smile. And then Sarah had a great point. She said, at the end of the day, and her tweet was great, much like checking if a cow is pregnant, sometimes you just got to put on the shoulder-length rubber gloves and reach on in. And that made me laugh because my roommate in law school was actually a dairy farmer. So he gave me the inside scoop that's funny too on that. But it's true, you got to sometimes just dig in and do it. Couple last tips, 3 more, and then we're going to kind of have to wrap things up. A great tip from N Conkle. He said for Python, he used the book The Hard Way. And in terms of learning about information retrieval, he provided a link to a resource that Stanford put out. So you should check that out. And speaking about Stanford, Jose Torres gave a great tip about the legal design lab at Stanford, as well as Stanford CodeX, a group that we've chatted about as well, being here in San Francisco. So great suggestion by Jose. And then Fabian Horton, this was a good one, it was kind of his recipe, was pick an annoying legal problem, do research, seek advice for tech solution, resolve problem, repeat times 25, you're in legal tech. Makes it seem easy. And the last one that I'll talk about today, I encourage folks to continue having this conversation on Twitter, because folks like Sean who are getting involved are always looking to kind of see more resources, and even people like me who's deeply involved always likes to see new resources. And this one was from Sara Kubik, when we did a one take based off one of Sarah's questions in the past. And she says to jump into what legal tech is, learn Excel, PowerPoint, Tableau, Relativity, to see what it can become, study other industries. And I kind of think that's really neat to also keep in mind what's going on in other industries. And to bring it back to what we do, that was also kind of one of the reasons why we have brought the power of AI to law. We saw what was happening in health, we saw what was happening in finance, and we saw that those trends continued to develop, and that it was a no-brainer to be able to kind of come in and build ROS within the legal space. So those are the suggestions we got online. Sean, did you agree with those? You're good?
Yeah, those are all great suggestions. You can't fit them all in 20 tweets, but another good one on YouTube is Udacity. They do like a great series of explanations about AI, and it's both technical and broad, so whatever your level is, that's just a good thing to listen to if you're trying to save your eyes from reading up on all these resources.
Great suggestions. You can follow Sean again and maybe even ask him how he got involved and how he likes it. At his hashtag here, and if you want to follow me, you already my details. I'm here, and if you want to ask questions to One Take, you can email over here. You can tweet at myself. You can tweet at David. David, we need to get you on this side of the camera too. And still, no one has taken me up on the carrier pigeon offer that I usually let out. So maybe I'll add in like a smoke message as well. So thanks everyone. Really had a blast doing this. If you have a question, do get in touch and take care.